Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of The County Seat. I'm your host, Chad Booth. County Seat is a program that's about local government, not local politics. Today we are at the state capitol for Rural Legislative Day. This is a day when the county commissioners, the economic development directors, and the industries in rural Utah get a chance to come to the capitol, talk to our leaders, our senators, and our legislators one-on-one with the issues that are important to them. Amazingly, not only does it impact the lives in rural Utah, but many along the Wasatch Front. That will be the topic of our panel discussion a little later in the show, but right now we're going to find out about the wide variety of people and interests that come to Rural Legislative Day. Here with that story is Ria Rossi.
Thanks, Chad. The city mouse and the country mouse, two of the same creature, yet living in different parts. Well, you heard that story when you were a kid. People are pretty much the same. That's why we're here for Rural Legislative Day.
It's important for people outside of these rural areas to see what is being accomplished. And one of the things that's nice is when they come out to the rural areas, they only come out usually for the recreation or to visit family or something, not really understanding some of the accomplishments and some of the opportunities in these rural areas.
Beverly Evans is the Director of Rural Development for the state of Utah and one of the organizers of Rural Legislative Day. As a former legislator, Beverly understands the importance of representation at the state capitol.
But as we've seen the demographics of the state change and less representation from the rural areas, I just felt like we needed to organize a day where we have a rural voice.
Now in its third year, that voice of the rural communities, industries, and local leaders has been brought to the legislators to inform them of the issues that are of importance off the Wasatch Front.
There's an obvious geographic barrier, and the more that we can be here and be seen and make our voice heard, the better. And it's a long ways to come, so we try to make our time count.
We don't have the level of access on a daily basis that a lot of people do, and so opportunities like Rural Day give us the opportunity to kind of plant seeds, especially late in the session, that we can utilize during the rest of the off session and work things in. And because they're in session, it kind of plants the seed that they can visit about it. So access, especially for people like commissioners who don't get up there a lot, it really means a lot to them to have that chance to kind of feel important and be able to actually make a difference when they talk to legislators.
It's not just the rural county folks who see this as valuable. Scott Jenkins is a senator from along the Wasatch Front and thinks that many of the negatives of rural Utah are really positives.
We are really polarized in Utah when it comes to budgeting. We have small little counties that are, the whole county is smaller than some of our small cities. And yet we have big counties and big cities like Salt Lake that they're not even a blip on their screen. So it's very important that we understand these counties and the struggles they go through, because we're their representatives as well as our own.
Most Utahns live and work along the Wasatch Front and don't consider the impact that rural communities have on the state as a whole. But it is worth considering. 17 of Utah's 29 counties are considered rural and geographically make up a majority of the state. These counties also produce most of the natural resources that we enjoy on a daily basis in the Beehive State, keeping our energy, transportation, and food costs much lower. Jim Hewlett recognizes that his organization, Intermountain Power Agency, brings a great deal to Utah's table.
I do think that there is some overlook of what the real importance to our superstructure of our state that has ties in rural Utah really make a difference, and sometimes that is overlooked. It's important for us because the heart of our project is located in rural Utah. We could not do what we do there anywhere here along the Wasatch Front.
There's coal, there's natural gas, there's wind, there's solar, there's geothermal. The economic development opportunities for new renewable energy development, but also new natural gas storage and other innovative technologies is really significant for those small town communities and those rural areas.
And that is the major focus of the day, to highlight the importance of rural Utah to the state as a whole.
I just talked to a couple of senators who said, hey, we're still in session, but I wanted to get down and I wanted to talk to you guys and let you know that I do worry about your issues. That's very very refreshing to hear that level of concern.
And it wouldn't be Rural Legislative Day without some rural history, too.
We're celebrating the 100-year anniversary of the nation's first all-women town council and mayor, which was in Kanab. They took office in 1912.
It reminds us of our roots of the state, and that we start as a rural state. And it's very important for us to remember that. It reminds us of agriculture. So Rural Day on the Hill is great, plus it forces me to wear my boots.
So as you can see, what happens in rural Utah doesn't stay there. It affects all of us. I'm Rhea Rossi with the county seat. Back to you, Chad.
Thank you, Rhea, for that report on Rural Legislative Day. When we come back, we will talk about some of the issues that feed and fuel Utah, that come from rural Utah, and how they think they fared in the legislature this year. We'll be back with the county seat in just a moment.
The best part about raising children here in Vernal and the Uinta Basin is just the smaller community that makes you feel like when you go somewhere, you know everybody.
It's not too big, it's not too small. We're close to the Wasatch Front if there's anything we need out there.
The support is unbelievable. Even though you don't have a kid playing high school football, you go to Friday night football.
My job has offered me the ability to college educate all three of my children.
My father, he was an engineer for Chevron, retired 39 some odd years. And Jeff, my husband, it's the same way. He's always worked in the oil and gas, always had a job here.
It's a wonderful place to play because there's a lot of variety between hunting, fishing.
And the beautiful mountains, and Flaming Gorge is just a short distance away.
One of the big reasons why I live where I live is I'm able to run up to a beautiful place like this and spend some good quality time.
There's always plenty to do in Uinta County.
What brings you to St. George?
Business meeting.
Staying long?
Just here for the day. Quick in and out. Hey, I just landed. Can we meet in a half an hour?
Not too bad. Why so fast?
Stay any longer? We'll run out of things to do. On second thought. Buddy, something's come up. I'm gonna need another hour. Can we push the meeting till noon? I am definitely gonna need to reschedule. Holy.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy your 45-minute flight to Salt Lake. How'd that meeting go?
I should have booked a weekend.
Welcome back to the county seat. We saw in the first segment the sights and sounds of Rural Legislative Day, a very important event up here at the Capitol. Now we're going to talk about some of the issues and the things that have faced the 2013 legislature and the county's perspective on it. Joining us for our conversation, Commissioner from Daggett County, Jerry Steglich. We also have with us Mike McKee, Commissioner for Uinta County, Irene Hansen, Economic Development Director from Duchesne County, Dylan Fielding, Economic Development, Carbon County. Thank you all for joining us today. Seeing as how you guys are all in an energy zone, and three of you are engaged in producing, how big of an issue has energy been in talking to the legislature today?
There are several pieces of legislation for energy that's fairly important to us. One of the issues we had was the split estate issue. And I might just mention real quickly, what happens in the state of Utah, we have many times where you'll have the surface owner and the mineral owner will be different. And what was happening out in the Uinta Basin is in many cases we were having the subsurface owner getting a benefit and the owner of the surface being left with a rollback tax because some of this land would be put into production. And so it was taken out of agriculture. And as that was happening, it would be raising their taxes, and then the 5-year rollback provision would be enacted. And so we appreciate our legislators, our local legislators, and the legislature as they've corrected that. And so with this legislation, we would no longer have that, and the rollback provision would not be imposed.
There's not one of you that's under 2 hours to this location, right?
Correct.
Does this day really make a big difference in getting the ball rolling?
Being here gives us time to talk to the legislators and kind of really wrap up what's going on and to make sure that things that needed to happen have happened, and if they haven't quite happened, to make sure that we close the deal. The ball starts really months ago for this type of legislation to be taken care of.
Jerry, do you really feel from the issues that are important to Daggett County that when these guys sit down with you, they're listening?
Yeah, I really believe they're listening. Some of these issues that we've been working on have been issues for several years. The jail funding, the contracting is always an issue. It's a good time to come up here and express our thanks and gratitude to these men also and women that have been pulling for us. And
a little harder when they go from 47 to 45, though, isn't it?
Yes, it gets difficult, but they listen. They're grateful, and I think most of them are pulling for rural Utah.
Well, that's very good. Now, while you're not exactly, like I say, a significant producing county, what happens down the road in Duchesne and Uintah County does have an impact on Daggett County, does it not?
Tourism and recreation is our industry. We see the growth that's coming from Uintah County and Duchesne County, and we appreciate that. So we want to support them any way we can up here at the Capitol. We see that as an opportunity for our industry and tourism and recreation to grow.
It's becoming increasingly important for rural counties to come together. Just the demographics, the Wasatch Front is growing, and the numbers as they grow, and every 10 years when reapportionment happens, frankly, rural representation lessens.
Yes.
And it becomes more and more critical for all of the partners, whatever their industry, to work together to effectively move things along and benefit all of the rural counties together.
You know, I said on the way into this segment that the rural part of the state feeds and fuels the Wasatch Front, so people that live here should be paying attention to what's happening there.
This past year, natural gas was really quite low. It was about $2.50 for 1,000 cubic feet is what the companies were receiving at the wellhead. And so in many cases, they were just barely breaking even, very difficult for them to continue to produce. And of course, there's a lot of jobs as that moves forward and up and down and what that happens in the state. And this year, there's a proposal, a bill that would increase severance tax on liquid natural gas from 4% to 5%. Well, you know, these decisions are being made by the executives in Houston and Denver and these companies. The company's not really necessarily located in the state of Utah, and you know, it's very competitive. And so tax policy does make a difference. So how does that affect the entire state? Well, you know, there's so much money that comes into the state of Utah. Out of Uintah County alone in 2008 in mineral lease money, there was $112 million that came in mineral lease royalties. There would be a little less than that in the severance taxes. That's just on the taxation portion of that. So, you know, those policies make a difference. How does this affect education? And in my mind, if we want to increase money for education and for those kind of things, the way we do it is not by increasing tax. It's by reducing regulation, get out of the way, and then we will have more money, more, you know, than we know what to do with. There will be so much investment. I had a group that came in not too long ago and said, we want to spend $100 million in your community. They were concerned about the regulations. They were concerned about, you know, some of the things we have to deal with. So it just seems to me a better way of doing things is let's reduce regulation, not more taxation or more regulation.
And that makes sense, but that takes to a broader picture of energy, because I sit here and look, you know, Uintah County, you know, I'm seeing gas, you know, pumping stations. I'm seeing oil for Duchesne. I'm seeing coal for carbon. Do they ever conflict, or do you guys pretty much move together in a concerted effort as far as policy goes?
I think I'm probably speaking out of turn, but
no, perfect.
I think we work really well together. In fact, on the severance tax issue, I might give that as an example. One of the things that was mentioned, well, there's not a severance tax on coal. And we said, you know what, we support that, right. But let's not increase it, you know, on the oil and gas. And why isn't there a severance tax on coal? Some would ask that, but you know, to be competitive, it's more difficult in Utah than it is in Wyoming. We need to work together. We need to stick together. We need to help each other. But again, just increasing taxes isn't the answer to everything.
Okay, well, listen, we're going to take a break right now from the county seat. We're off to a really good start here on this conversation. We will explore the impact of Rural Legislative Day, maybe do a little bit of a scorecard here when we come back in just a minute. Stay with us. We'll be back with more of the county seat, the show that's about local government, not local politics.
Good morning. If you're just getting up, it's a cold one out there today. Lots of snow and the commute is ugly.
Grief.
Don't you wish that you were somewhere else? Somewhere else?
Escape from your world and find another in Kanab, the perfect destination for adventure, history, and exploration that can be enjoyed any time of the year. Don't let Mother Nature keep you holed up all winter when you can escape anytime and enjoy the best that Utah has to offer. Come to Kanab and see what we mean.
Almost 45% of the oil produced in Utah, 7.8 million barrels, comes from Duchesne County. That oil feeds our state economy, provides job growth, and supports local business. Here in Duchesne County, we're working to make Utah an economic, cultural, and technological leader. Whether you're here for business or pleasure, Duchesne County will welcome you with open arms and invite you to explore all the beauty of the Uinta Mountains. Duchesne County, close enough for business, far enough to get away.
Cedar City, Utah is home of the Tony Award-winning Utah Shakespeare Festival. But did you know that we also offer a different kind of play?
Escape the gray. Head south for clear skies. Cedar City, Bryan Head. It's where play is the thing.
Who is it?
It's me, honey. My key's not working. Can you let me in?
Did you get your whooping cough booster shot?
No, I forgot. I'll get it tomorrow.
Then that's when you can come in.
What?
Whooping cough can cause permanent disability in our baby. We're not taking that chance.
I know, but I'm...
Your dinner's on the porch.
Help us stop whooping cough. Visit us online to find out where you and your family can get vaccinated.
Welcome back to the county seat. We are talking today about Rural Legislative Day. We spent the first part of the session talking about energy and energy-related issues and how important that is up here at the Hill. And Mike, you said something that referred to the fact that when companies make policies in Houston, they're not aware of the impact it has on the ground. But Irene, you're seeing a change coming as far as the energy sector out here. What is that change?
I think something that's very exciting, and it certainly helps build sustainable rural communities, is the change in the oil and gas industry and probably the entire energy industry sector over the last 30 years. The oil boom that people might remember of the 70s, those oil field workers, maybe the roustabouts, those kind of folks, it's a completely different scenario. Of course, we still have those people doing manual labor jobs, but I will tell you, many of our corporations that are there have built quite large corporate offices. They have geologists, engineers, archaeologists, and computer technicians, high-level skilled positions of all kinds. And there's not one or two positions, there may be 100 positions. Now those positions used to be at corporate offices far away from Utah. So not only are we bringing in those quality, high-paying jobs, but we're keeping more of that closer to where the product is actually coming out of the ground. The people that become part of your community, they run for office in some cases, they coach Little League, and they are very aware of the impacts, and it builds a loyal base. They're part of our community, and we're thankful for that change.
Well, and
go ahead.
That technology is happening in all industries.
It is.
And if the particular company isn't keeping up with that,
that's right.
They're out of business. And so how they handle the technology and implement the technology and make the necessary changes is in direct proportion to their ultimate success.
Isn't one of the challenges, though, Delyn, that comes up from this is that to get these companies here, you have a challenge with infrastructure? because sometimes if companies are going to move big portions of their operation here, they may have requirement for more kilowatts, more natural gas than you've got the infrastructure for. Is that something that the legislature needs to help communities with?
That's actually one of the bills that has been being worked on, is the problem with natural gas and being able to get natural gas at an affordable price to industries. In the Wasatch Front, if you an extended line, you can move up, a few hundred feet and put your plant in. In rural areas, that might be a few miles, and consequently the cost of those line extensions become prohibitive, and it needs to be adjusted in how it's done, and so that the costs can be kept in line for future economic development.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say one other piece of legislation that's going on this very issue as well is there's a major transportation study that was just completed, and again we appreciate the legislature because it's contemplating billions of dollars of additional revenue to the state of Utah if we can address some of these transportation needs. And so that's a very important piece of legislation that addresses the very issue you just mentioned. So,
and is that one of the biggest problems for counties? I mean, I know with you've got less than 1,000 people that are residents of Daggett County. Is infrastructure a big issue to you guys up there?
Yes, it is. It's actually 1,059 now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed the last census, Jerry.
That's huge growth. I mean,
that's growth.
Huge growth.
5–6%,
Infrastructure is huge for us. We're surrounded on the north by southwestern Wyoming energy development, and then on the south with Uintah County and Duchesne County and Carbon County, and we're the pass-through. So, yeah, it's a huge impact to us up there, and we're not looking to capitalize on it or anything, but we just like to be part of the game.
I would like to get to what I promised people we'd do in the last segment, and that is a little bit of the scorecard of the legislative session so far in this coming year, and find out how you think the legislators are doing at addressing the rural issues. We'll be right back with the county seat right after this commercial break. Don't go away. We want you to join us.
I remember the first time that our family found that canyon road. I thought, here we go again, another road to nowhere. But boy, was I wrong. It was 9 Mile Canyon, and what we saw was more than I could ever have expected. At the end of the day, my son asked,
Mom, can we come back here again?
That was all I needed to hear.
What happens in Utah's Castle Country stays with you. Find out more at castlecountry.com.
Whatever your meeting needs may be, Sevier County is perfect. The brand new fairgrounds facility includes a large meeting hall, breakout rooms, and a perfect kitchen facility to feed just a few or hundreds. The county also boasts the Sevier Valley Center on the campus of Snow College Richfield. This facility includes an arena and numerous breakout rooms that can be used for any type of meeting, conference, or event. When planning your next meeting or conference, consider placing it in the center of it all, Sevier County.
Welcome back to the county seat. We've been talking about rural legislative day. It can be a tongueful on a long afternoon. You know, a lot of people will say, well, you elect a legislator, he represents your area. Isn't he supposed to be doing this work?
You know, I think that used to be kind of the sentiment. You know, you elect a wonderful person, especially from a rural area. They come out. You kind of don't have to worry about anything till 45 days later. But I think things have changed, whether it's because things are more sophisticated, and part of it just simply is the population in comparison to the urban areas is shrinking. And so our legislators need us there. They need us to be engaged in the issues to help them understand things that how it might affect our area that they may not be sure of. And now things are so specialized that it's absolutely imperative that economic development professionals, county commissioners, sometimes it's our sheriffs that need to be up here, I'm sure occasionally rural residents think, you know, what's a county commissioner? What's an economic development person doing in Salt Lake all the time? But it's critical because they're there representing you and advocating for your unique circumstances in that rural part of the state.
So let's do a little bit of a scorecard. 2013, Jerry, was Daggett County well served by this day?
I believe so. I think our representatives and senators represented us well. We pretty much got what we was looking for, that is going to benefit Daggett County specifically. Again, a lot of this goes back to the jail funding issues. But yes, I think they've done well.
Mike?
Well, I'm going to give a plug to our representatives, John Mathis and Kevin Van Tassel. They've done an outstanding job for us. But I think even deeper than that, and I had actual conversation with Senator Bramble recently, but the bottom line is, and it goes to what Irene was talking about, as we grow in the projections, we're going to lose more and more of our rural voice. And it's very important we have very strong representatives, because they're going to have to collaborate, they're going to have to work very closely with the other legislators for rural Utah to have a voice. And I think our legislators are doing an outstanding job in doing that. But it's going to be very important for rural Utah that we understand that and recognize the importance of everybody working together, because if we don't, some of these rural, these issues that are so important to us will be lost.
There's a real pressure cooker that's happening in the legislature in the 45 days. And changes are made to bills, comments that are made, and things come up, and at first blush, well, that isn't such a bad idea. But it takes sometimes representatives at home to say, now, what about this? Have you thought about that? In fact, we were talking to Senator Hinkins today about a particular bill that came up in the urban areas, but would have a real effect across the state. And some points were brought up that he hadn't thought about. And that conversation happens in 30 seconds, in 1 minute between votes, and it takes the commissioners and other rural people to be here to make those connections.
Do they listen?
You know, they do listen. In fact, I'm so glad you asked that question, because you know what, at the end of the day, we're Utahns, and we want Utah to do well. Now, the governor always said if rural Utah isn't doing well, Utah isn't doing well, but I feel the same thing about the urban areas. We love Utah. And we know Utah needs to do well, and we love the leaders in Utah. And so, you know what? It's about relationships. That's how rural Utah does business. We come out, we get to know people, and they're our friends. And you bet they listen.
Could the Wasatch Front survive without the support that's given to it by rural Utah?
No.
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 But we couldn't survive without them. It's a whole state, and that's very real.
We thank you all for joining us today on the County Seat. This has been a fine discussion. People at home, thank you for watching. Thank you for allowing us to come into your home for this half hour. Please tell your friends about it, because local government is really where your life happens. It's not off in Washington. And the people that represent you across the state, like these people here at this panel, put in a great deal of effort to make your life better. And so you need to be involved in that dialogue and that conversations. Tell your friends, go to our website, make a comment on Facebook, and we'll see you next week on the County Seat.